Good morning, YouTube. Welcome back to the second ever mousepad review. So today we're doing the Spyre Loque. In case you didn't know, it's spelled L-O-Q-U-E, but Spyre themselves have said that this is pronounced the Loque. Spyre is a local Australian company. In case you guys didn't know, I'm currently in Australia as well. And I'm personally a big fan of supporting local businesses. So I had no idea what Spyre was or anything that they've done before. I've never heard of this brand, but I saw a Twitter post of someone who had the Spyre Loque here and the Spyre Kamek, which is the previous Spyre mousepad they made, and I was like, oh, I want to try those, local Australians, see what they can do. So I went to Spyre support, or I went to their website, and then I sent them an email. I was like, hey, I'm a Valorant player, I also do reviews and all of that, so do you guys have any review units? I'm happy to send it back as well. The nice people over at Spyre were like, sure, no problem. Send us your personal information and tell us if you want stitched or non-stitched edges, and I'm like, I'll have stitched, here's my address. Like half an hour later, they're like, here's your tracking number. I'm like, okay, oh, sweet. Like, they're nice people. I love it when they do that. They're just nice people. They don't care. They just send it to me. That's when we got this. And then afterwards, right, I got it, and I sent the guy, I'm like, hey, man, I've got it. Thanks so much. I'll post a review and whatever. And he's like, yeah, hope you enjoy it. You can do whatever. I don't care. So, this guy literally sent me a free mousepad. He's just like, do whatever. We don't care. So it kind of makes me feel bad if I don't even give them a good review. In which case, I will give this a good review because it deserves it. So the founders of Spyre actually play a lot of arena FPS, so things like Quake, Diabolical, I'm assuming TF2, Unreal Tournament, and all of that. They also sponsor lots of little events and organizations. You can find out more about that on their website. So we'll move straight on to details and unboxing. The first thing you might notice is that it's kind of really hard to find a camera angle to show this because this mousepad is very big. Right, it's 500 by 500, so it is a square, but any one side of the square is still bigger and longer than an Artisan mousepad, if that makes sense. This is a very big mousepad. That's good. Or to some, it might not be a good thing because if your desk can't fit this, you can't use the whole thing. But nonetheless, I always think the bigger the better. As long as it physically fits on your desk, even if you had things blocking it, it's ideal to have a bigger mousepad. So the mousepad comes rolled up in a tube like this. Really nice looking tube. Not too much more on this other than just Loque written here. Spyre and some of the details, all of that, size. Nothing else really on it. Now, in case you didn't know, this thing does have a 10-year replacement warranty. It's not to say they expect this mousepad to last 10 years. It's more of them having a commitment to you to say that, hey, if your mousepad ever breaks, we'll replace it for you for free. All mousepads will die, eventually. It's just a question of when, how long. And that also changes based on how you take care of your mousepad. This is probably more on the durable side because it's a Codura mousepad. If you don't know what Codura is, you can go look it up. You can go research it. They also have the information on their website linked. But essentially, it's kind of like a material similar to what you would use on bags or denim and all of that, jeans, which makes you kind of wonder, damn, isn't that going to make it really rough or whatever? But that isn't the case. The 10-year replacement warranty is more of a commitment to you. They don't expect the mousepad to last 10 years, but they do promise to replace it for you because that's just an act of service. So another big dub to Spyre, which is a good company. So this mousepad costs 40 Australian dollars. For us locally in Australia, the shipping price is $11, so in total $51, which is considerably cheap compared to the grand scheme of how the mousepad market is right now. Obviously, there are similar or cheaper options, but whether or not those are as good is a different story. I'm not sure how much Codura usually costs as well to make, so maybe it's more expensive than cloth pads, or certain types of cloth pads anyway, so I'm not too sure. The base is just a standard rubber base. Doesn't really move though, which is really nice, and it's really not thick. It's not very hard, but there's pretty much no padding or plushiness to this. In general, it's just a solid, decent mousepad. I got the stitched edge one because I'm saying, hey, everyone gets mousepads with stitched edges these days, and stitching helps it last longer, prevent fraying and all of that. I inspected the stitching. Stitching quality is actually pretty excellent. The only part that kind of has a little bit of an issue is the top left corner, and I believe that's where the stitching started / finished. So I'll fold that over just so you guys can kind of see it. It's over here. So this is the only part that's like that. And if you look at the bottom, you can see that it's double stitched on this part. So I'm assuming this is where it began and then where it finished as well, which is why it ended up like this. But all in all, the general stitching is perfectly fine, and the mousepad feels really, really durable, right? That's just a Codura speciality. My first concern on this mousepad was, does it work with an arm sleeve? Because when I first touched it, I felt it with my hand. I'm like, oh, this is a bit rough. Maybe the arm sleeve fabric wouldn't work on this and it'll get caught. But I was wrong, right? I had an arm sleeve on glided perfectly fine. So no problems there. Just a really good cheap option overall. I'm not too sure how much this would cost for you guys overseas in terms of shipping. Maybe it comes down to 40, 50 US dollars including shipping and currency, because US dollars is worth more. But overall, it's a cheaper option, one that's really well worth it at that. So move straight on to the speed. The speed of this mouse pad is interesting. I can't really describe it to you because sometimes it feels really glidey and sometimes it feels really controlled. Both are in a good way. It's similar to Hayate Otsu. The first moment I got this mouse pad and I swiped my mouse on it, I was like, this reminds me of Otsu. So after coming home and A/B testing it, I can tell you that this is a little bit slower. The Otsu is still a little bit faster, but this is definitely a lot more controlled as well. Just in general, playing with this mouse pad, like I've never had any complaints with the speed or the control. It just feels really perfect. I don't know what it is they did to this mouse pad. Right, this is the first Codura mousepad I've had, and at least based on what some others said, including Viscose, she said this is a Codura mousepad different to any other Codura mousepad she's ever tried. This is the first one I've tried, obviously, and I have really positive impressions of it. All I can say is that speed and control on this mousepad is just really good. It's similar to an Artisan Hayate Otsu, but obviously without the plushiness, it's more like a mid. Texture-wise, the mousepad's pretty rough because it's Codura. It kind of feels rough if you like touch it, but when you move your arm when you're swiping, you don't really feel that as much. I feel like things like a Heian might be actually more textured and scratchy on your skin than this is. In terms of using the mouse on it, it feels smooth, right? You don't feel any texture on this whatsoever, which is surprising, but also not surprising because this is an evenly woven surface, whereas things like Heians and Otsu, if you inspect those, they're not exactly evenly woven. So no texture when you glide your mouse. Tiny bit of texture on the skin, but that's because it's a Codura mousepad. And just overall, it's just good. Here's a little bit of a glide test. This is still my main Pulsar X2 with the core pads on it. So you can see, like I'm just gently pushing it. It's going to do a little bit of gliding. So the video makes it look a bit slower than it actually is. Maybe I'm just not pushing it hard enough. But generally, when I'm swiping, it really feels fine. Bring over the Hayate Otsu just so you can do a little bit of a comparison. So as you can see, the Hayate Otsu glides about like that. And then back onto the Spyre Loque. So all I can say is, in summary, this is just a really, really good, perfectly balanced speed and control mousepad. They market it as speed, but I think in the grand scheme of mousepads, both of these are considered medium speed, right? This is like one of the most balanced speed and control mousepads, a little bit slower than the Otsu. Half the price, it's more like an Otsu mid, has no plushing, so that's where the cost reduction lies in. So who should buy this mousepad? Well, if you're on a tighter budget, or you constantly replace mousepads, and bonus points if you are an Oceanic local, this is for you. It's cheap, it's affordable, it's good, it's also very durable. There's just nothing bad to say about it. Right? I have nothing bad to say about it. All mousepads at this point are considerably good. It's just finding out what kind of speed and control you like. And this fits right where I prefer it. I'm still going to main the Otsu, but this is around the point of where I like my speed and control. At least personally, I just have literally nothing bad to say about this mousepad. It's cheap, it's accessible, it's durable, it performs, it's just nothing bad to say about it. Right? It's not like it's going to change your life or blow your mind or whatever, but it's just a good mousepad. So I'm surprised. I'm impressed. I like this. Right, I love supporting Australian local businesses. It's great to see them actually make something good. It just came out of nowhere, especially for us local OC people. If you need a mousepad replacement, you're like, I don't want to spend $100 or $80, $70, whatever on an Artisan mousepad every couple of months. Just buy these. Just buy a lot of these. Right, first of all, I feel like this will already last longer than the Artisan pad because it's Codura. Second of all, it's half the price. It's a no-brainer to me. Artisan mousepads are still more premium. They have that pour-on base. They have that plush feel. They have that premium feel to it. You can also get that stopping power from pushing down more on these X-Soft pads. But I've never had any control issues on the Loque somehow. This gets a top tier recommendation. Whatever Spyre did, it's just magic.